It is finally that time. The end of 2020 is right here, and man, it couldn't have come any faster, honestly. It actually felt like forever this year. Like, good God, this year was long. Before we actually formally dive into my lists of this year, I want to talk about some honorable mentions to some albums that were just shy of making my list. We're not going to talk about them too in depth. I have individual reviews for most of these records, and then part of that big series that I put out, I also have reviews of albums in there as well. This honorable mentions list is not in any particular order, so don't think that I'm ranking these in any way, shape, or form. These are just mentions, honorably, of albums that I think should be rewarded your time and your listen. Starting off with the recent Fleet Foxes record, Shore, which in my mind is a very accessible version of the band's typical sound and style. I think this band, Fleet Foxes as a band, makes some very beautiful music. While it is a stellar record for some portions of the project, I think there are other parts of this record that could have used a little more oomph. Next, I want to shout out the new Kelly Lee Owens album, Inner Song, which is a fusion of tech house and art pop that is very unique to Kelly Lee Owens. And while I was highly anticipating this latest project of hers, I did find it a little inconsistent for my liking, though if you are into the sound of, again, tech house and art pop fused together with more of an art pop angle, I think you will really enjoy what's on this project. Natalia Lafourcade, Un Canto por Mexico Volume 1 is up next on this honorable mentions, a very lengthy dive into the sounds of ranchera and Mexican folk music. Just an overall great display of just some native sounds to Natalia's country. A very beautiful, elegant way to put this sound into fruition. And next on our list is an album that a lot of people didn't care for this year, but I actually found to be very enjoyable. That is the new Grimes album, Miss Anthropocene. A record that shows Grimes' darker side, which, I mean, Grimes has always had a weird side, but this is like a darker, weirder side to Grimes that we don't normally see. The trip-hop influences that come off slightly on some of these tracks, the ethereal vibe of a lot of this project is very much thrown at us. Within the first portion of this record, you get songs like So Heavy I Fell Through the Earth and 4 a.m. that exude this darkness that is almost tangible. And while it isn't her best record in my mind, I think this is a step in a unique direction for Grimes, and I'm excited to see where she can go from here. Protomartyr with Ultimate Success Today lands on this list as well, even though I didn't find this record to be as captivating as maybe Relatives in Descent was. This is a great sound for the band for those that are starting to get into Protomartyr. A great jumping off point, and if you want to dive into their music, start with this album. I think this is a really good starting point. Another album I want to shout out for being a great jumping off point into a band's catalog is the new Everything Everything album, Re-Animator. I think this is actually a better project than Fever. However, I think the sounds exhibited on this project are very simplistic for Everything Everything. Their typical blend of art pop and electronica kind of, not say runs stale by the back end of the record, but it gets pretty predictable, to say the least. However, the songs on this project are relatively good. Taylor Swift with Folklore, I just found out that she's going to be releasing another record in the same vein as this project. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to review it. Too bad. However, I think Folklore is a very interesting step in Taylor Swift's trajectory as an artist, going to a more folk-oriented chamber folk sound that is based around, folk instrumentation, chamber folk instrumentation, come together greatly on this project in such a way that I'm kind of shocked by sometimes. The project is good, it has great songs on here. I just think it runs a little long for my liking. Shout out to young Nudy for creating a very idyllic kind of trap album on the album anyways. A rapper with a one-of-a-kind zany delivery and unique production behind it almost like the idiosyncrasies of a Playboy Cardi in a lot of respects. But it is like the best qualities of trap music recently, at least. This is definitely a project that I might look back on and maybe regret not putting on my list. But for what it stands as today, for me personally, it's an honorable mention. Ramirez and Rocky team up on the Playas manual, Ramirez coming through with a more G-funk and West Coast hip-hop sound that's smooth, free-flowing, just very nice overall production-wise. Kind of the opposite of my previous two criticisms for those previous two projects. I wish this album was actually quite longer. You know, I think the sounds on here are great, but it's just so short. The brevity of this project really hinders it. For what it is, it's a great project. Check it out. Both Ramirez and Rocky complement each other in great ways, and I'm excited to see where Ramirez can go after this point. Last, but definitely not least, shout out to the new Vale Smith record, Are You Sick of Being Unlucky? Wonky, electronic soundscapes that are kaleidoscopic, kind of, jittery, fast-paced, a little frenetic, and kind of chaotic as well. This is one of the more unique electronic records I've heard this year, but for me personally, I really would love to see Vale Smith come through with a more focused sound and style. It's really hard to explain in a lot of respects, because the sounds on here are frenetic, chaotic, kaleidoscopic, but the overall sound of this record feels a little disjointed at some points. I wish maybe there was consisting running themes through some of these songs, and I know that's kind of hard to exhibit on an electronic album. I think there are ways to do it though, and I really wouldn't be surprised if Vale Smith came through with a sound and a style very similar to this, but that's even better. And that is the honorable mentions video. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in my lists. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy. Leave a like, comment, share, do whatever you want. Let me know how I can improve future videos down below. Remember, this is only my opinion because music is subjective.